All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to unpack a frankly wild 48-hour window of cybersecurity escalations and retaliations that went down in May 2026. Look, if you follow the threat landscape, you already know the speed and sophistication of attacks are constantly ramping up. But what we saw during this specific 2-day stretch, it was a massive structural shift in how both threat actors and global defenders are operating. We're literally looking at a fundamentally new battlefield here. To really grasp the sheer scale of this new battlefield, just look at this number. 5,561. That's exactly how many GitHub repositories were targeted in a single, highly automated 6-hour window by the Megalodon campaign. Attackers aren't just going after one big corporation anymore. They targeted the foundational building blocks used by thousands of companies, all in the time it probably took you to drink your morning coffee. So to break all this down, we're going to look at 4 key areas: poisoning the supply chain, active exploits and intrusions, AI and global justice, and finally, securing the future. Starting off with Section 1, poisoning the supply chain, and how attackers are targeting the very foundations of our code. You know, attackers really aren't just trying to pick the lock on your front door anymore. They're going straight for the town's water supply. In a traditional attack, a hacker targets a specific company directly to steal their data. But in a supply chain attack, threat actors infect the open-source libraries that your favorite application is built on. Once they compromise that underlying code, the malicious payload just automatically trickles down to thousands, sometimes millions, of downstream users. And the crazy part is how coordinated this all feels. In literally a 2-day span, we saw simultaneous hits across entirely different ecosystems. We had that massive Megalodon attack on GitHub. We saw 8 PHP packages on Packagist infected using a really clever trick. And the Laravel Lang PHP packages were severely compromised, with over 700 package versions getting corrupted super fast in what looked like an automated mass tagging event. They basically grabbed organization-level access and pushed out hundreds of malicious updates in seconds. So how exactly did Megalodon pull this off? Well, the attackers used throwaway accounts and forged identities, giving them innocent-sounding names like BuildBot or AutoC to inject malicious workflows right into repositories. Once those triggered, they executed hidden base64 encoded bash payloads that just quietly siphoned off some incredibly sensitive data. We're talking AWS credentials, SSH private keys, Docker configs, the keys to the kingdom, all sent straight back to the attacker's server. Meanwhile, over in the PHP ecosystem, the Packagist attack was incredibly sneaky. They infected Composer packages, but, and here's the real genius of it, they didn't put the malware in the PHP files. Instead, they hid malicious JavaScript inside the package JSON files. Think about that for a second. If you're a developer scanning your PHP dependencies, your tools are looking for PHP malware, so they completely missed this because it was hiding out in JavaScript lifecycle hooks. It's a cross-ecosystem blind spot, and they exploited it perfectly. But hey, it's not all bad news. Defenders are actually punching back. To fight this exact type of automated, rapid-fire poisoning, GitHub rolled out a new control for NPM called staged publishing. This is a real game changer. Instead of code just auto-publishing from a pipeline, it goes into a holding queue. An actual human maintainer has to explicitly approve the release, and crucially, they have to pass a 2FA challenge to prove they're a real person before any of that code goes live. Moving right along to Section 2, active exploits and intrusions, basically the front lines of modern cyber warfare. So those supply chain flaws, they translate into real-world chaos very quickly. CISA just added some seriously high-stakes vulnerabilities to their actively exploited catalog. We're talking about a maximum severity 10.0 flaw in the Lightspeed cPanel plugin that literally lets an attacker run arbitrary scripts with total root control. There's also a critical 9.4 flaw in Langflow and a directory traversal issue in Trend Micro Apex 1. The fact that these are on CISA's radar means bad actors are actively using them to breach systems right now. CISA also put out an urgent warning about a nasty SQL injection in Drupal core. And the wild thing here is the speed. I mean, we are talking less than 48 hours between Drupal releasing the official security patch and attackers weaponizing it in the wild. That window between a patch dropping and hackers exploiting unpatched systems, it is shrinking to mere hours. On the geopolitical side, we're seeing state-aligned actors getting really creative. The Belarus-aligned group Ghostwriter targeted Ukrainian government entities by compromising existing accounts. They sent out these phishing emails using fake lures for a Ukrainian online learning platform called Prometheus. If someone clicked, it chicked off a chain that quietly dropped an encrypted payload called Oyster Blues straight into the Windows registry, completely flying under the radar of initial detection. To make matters even more complicated, there's this technique blowing up right now called BYOVD, or Bring Your Own Vulnerable Driver. It totally breaks traditional security boundaries. Basically, hackers use old, poorly coded, but legitimately signed software drivers as a VIP pass right into the deepest, most privileged part of Windows, the kernel. And the craziest part? They can exploit these drivers even if the specific hardware the driver was built for isn't actually plugged into the machine. All right, let's pivot to Section 3, AI and Global Justice. Or, as I like to call it, the Empire Strikes Back. Enter Anthropic's Project Glasswing. They unleashed an AI frontier model called Claude Mythos to autonomously hunt through global software infrastructure, and the results are absolutely wild. Out of roughly 6,200 potential vulnerabilities the AI flagged, human analysts validated over 1,700 as true positives. Ultimately, this AI autonomously pinpointed over 1,000 confirmed high or critical severity flaws across open source projects, and it did this before the bad actors could find them. Zooming out a bit, that one single initiative found over 10,000 high or critical severity flaws across major global software. 10,000! And that was just in 1 month of operation. This perfectly highlights how AI is becoming the ultimate defensive scale multiplier. We are suddenly patching the digital world way faster than humanly possible. And while the AI is busy patching code, law enforcement has been busy kicking down doors. This timeline maps out Operation Saffron, a massive international effort that started way back in December 2021. Fast forward to May 2026, and a coalition led by France, the Netherlands, and a huge list of allies completely dismantled the infrastructure of a criminal network known as First VPN, knocking them offline entirely on May 22nd. Now, why is this specific takedown such a big deal? Because FirstVPN wasn't for you and me. It was tailor-made for cybercriminals. It handled anonymous payments and was specifically built to hide the origins of massive ransomware and DDoS attacks. By tearing this down, law enforcement basically ripped the camouflage off of at least 25 different ransomware syndicates all at once. We've got another huge win for justice, too. The U.S. Department of Justice just announced the arrest of a 23-year-old guy in Canada who was running the Kimwolf DDoS botnet. What's fascinating about Kimwolf is that it didn't just target servers. It enslaved simple, supposedly firewalled internet-connected devices like digital photo frames and webcams, and then rented that botnet out to other criminals. But this arrest proves a really vital point. No matter how clever your botnet is, you can't hide forever. Finally, Section 4, Securing the Future, and what all of this actually means for you. So let's connect the dots here. We've got automated supply chain voicening happening on one side and frontier AI models racing to patch the leaks on the other. We're looking at a fundamentally changed ecosystem. Security just isn't about building a taller wall around your perimeter anymore. You have to look deeply inward. You have to ask yourself a pretty uncomfortable question. Are the foundational open source tools and the automated pipelines you rely on every single day actually safe? Definitely keep that in mind as you review your dependencies this week. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and to stay vigilant out there.